And we are back on Open Line tonight. If you are just tuning in, you are watching Ask an Attorney. It's Ask the Expert. And Kevin Kennedy from the Kennedy Law Firm is with us. Our phone's extremely busy. If you have a question that you need to ask a lawyer, this is the man to call. And a lot of you are calling. So we're going right back to the lines. Right now, Dee is on the line with us. Yes, they are. They've been full the entire evening. We do thank you for your patience. Dee, do you have a question or a comment for Kevin?
Yes, I have a question. Is there a way that I can get child support, or more so the visitation moved from one county back to, well, not back to, but have it moved to Davidson County, where a college student went away to college, got pregnant, everything was set up in a different county. She graduated from college, came back to Davidson County, and we're having to deal with visitation back and forth between two counties.
Good. Well, the question you have, you remember Tennessee deals with jurisdiction, and then venue would deal with counties. We have that happen quite often, and people can agree that, you know, we once lived in Knoxville, but now we live in Nashville. You can agree to bring your case if both sides would agree. But what sometimes people get aggravated because they've got this case and this judge didn't rule with them, they want to go to another county. That's a problem. And as a general rule, you can't do that. You can't just judge shop. But there are other circumstances. If the children were enrolled here and it's convenient, that's when a very skilled lawyer can make a difference.
That's what it's all about. We've been talking about what makes a difference, the skill. It really
Absolutely.
does. Yeah, it does.
You know, the master carpenter and the master painter, the lawyer is a master with words in the courtroom and out. They used to say, you know, I won several jury trials in a row, and they were asking, Kevin, what's the deal? It was your closing argument. And what I came to realize, the greatest argument the lawyer ever made was in the office. When we talked to you and said, let's go with this plan, or when we closed it. And then the last resort is when you actually have to go to the courtroom, because anything can happen in the courtroom.
That's right. All right. Well, Dee, thank you so much for your call this evening. We are going right back to the lines. Joseph is on the line with us. So, Joseph, we are glad that you're on the line. Do you have a question or a comment for Kevin?
Yes, sir. I just got a question. I got a felony, actually two felonies on my background.
Yes, sir.
And I got them in 2010. And I'm trying to find a way there's a way to get them off my record, because, you know, it's hard to find a job.
Yes, I'm with you. Well, here's a couple of options and ideas to brainstorm. You know, they've got some new laws that they allowed some felonies to be expunged. So that's one of the first steps. Talk to a lawyer. You may have to spend a little money for them to research that to see if those, as a general rule, felonies are there for a lifetime. But remember, the law is there's an exception to that rule, and then there's an exception to that exception. And you always heard them say, when there is a will, there is a way. Also, you know, you would be a classic if you were an outstanding citizen and achieved some things. We could go for a governor pardon and say this person deserves another chance. So there's still many ways. Never say never. And the lawyer says, you'll never get this off. Well, there's people that's walking the streets and they said, well, you would have been locked up in the prison forever. But we know that's not always true.
And Kevin, you cover a broad range of topics. One thing that I'm always curious, even if you know, and you've got a great reputation and that kind of thing, and a lawyer has a great reputation, when someone goes to visit that lawyer and they've got a case that they are, you know, wanting to talk about,
right? How
do they know that the lawyer is right for them and that they're right for the lawyer?
Well, you know, it gets down to the chemistry. You and I can walk in and say, are we connecting? And is the guy really articulate? Can if he sells you, maybe he can sell that next lawyer. And that's really what a lawyer, he's convincing the judge, our position is correct. Lawyer, don't press us to the courtroom, because you will regret it. Well, hello, come in. If I saw this guy and he just won 10 cases in a row, do you really want to have to dance there? Then we try to negotiate our way, just like you and I having a gun on each other. Who pulled the gun first? Well, he's in charge. But then if we can negotiate our way out, it's a win-win. And great lawyers will always find a way to settle these matters.
Okay, good to know. All right, Joseph, we do appreciate your call. We are going back to the lines right now, and I believe Carol is on the line with us. Carol, we're glad that you called, and do you have a question or a comment this evening?
I have a question.
Okay.
I had suffered a concussion in 2012, and it affects my speech and stuff. And I had a long-term disability insurance, and it was canceled because I couldn't mentally work for myself. Now I have some clue back on what's going on. And I passed the statute of limitations because I just heard Mr. Kennedy say that never say never.
Never say never. That's right. There's always hope. Give hope to the hopeless and encourage the discouraged. So here's what I would say to you. Find that disability policy. As a general rule, there's a 3-year statute of limitations on contract. And what could extend that? That's where we get back to the exceptions to the exception. If you perhaps had talked to one of the representatives and they said this and they drug you on further, you may have a claim to reopen that for misrepresentation. As we said earlier, on those criminal charges, even dealing with some, you say, golly, this is 20 years old. How can they bring criminal charges? How can they bring... I didn't say it was legal, but you and I know they did bring these lawsuits and they are filing them. And if a judge rules against you wrong, then you have a right to appeal.
All right, Carol, we do appreciate your call this evening. Absolutely.
I like that.
Yeah, that was good. Never say never.
Never say never.
There you go. Thank you so much, Carol. All right, right back to the lines, and Chuck is on the line with us. So, Chuck, we are glad that you called this evening. And do you have a question or a comment? Chuck, are you there?
Hello?
Hi,
Yeah.
Chuck. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, go right ahead. Kevin is here to answer your question. Chuck, do you have a question or a comment?
I have a question.
Okay.
Okay, I tried to go help this girl. Her brother's sister had called me. She was using heroin real bad. And they called me and asked me, was there anything that I could help them with? Because they was at their road scene. I said, yeah. So I suggested to go to Vanderbilt treatment. She said, no, I don't want to do that. Will you, I've heard about a methadone clinic down on Charlotte. I said, well, yeah. I said, I've never been there, but I'll go down with you and try to help you. Well, in the meantime, I took her down there, and I was going to pay for her methadone. Well, I ran into a friend of mine, and let me back up just for a second. They got cameras all in this place, okay? I ran into a friend of mine, and he said, Chuck, you want to go work today? And I said, sure. He said, well, let me take my medicine. And I went over there, and the girl's name's Tracy. I said, I'm going to get ready to go to work, Tracy, here in a little bit. And she said, well, will you just give me the money, and I'm going to come back down here later? I said, no, I'm not going to do that, Tracy. I'm not going to give you no money. I said, I'll do what I can to get you in this trouble. She said, excuse my language, I hope I'm not TV on here. She said, damn, this program, just give me the money. I said, no, that's all right, I'm going to go ahead and go, Tracy. Well, anyway, after I left, she took off with somebody, and she already had pain medication with her that I didn't know at the time. Well, she went somewhere, and her and that girl who she slept with done her pain medication up. Well, in the meantime, she tried to go call her doctor at a pain clinic and say that her medicine come up gone. Well, she tried to say that I got it. Said I stuck my hand over in her pocketbook. But I guess she was so high or whatever. When I took her down there, she wasn't realizing we was right in front of cameras, front, side, and the back of us.
Yes. Well, you make some good points right there. Remember this, the camera's always on. And the microphone's always on.
That's right.
And so you've got to be aware of that. Even when you get gasoline, you go to Walmart, they've got all those tapes. Number two, anyone can be accused of something wrong at any time. We can come in and say, well, golly, Kevin, Kennedy, and Chuck, I had some money in my purse and it's gone. And the first thing he and I are going to say, we didn't take it. And then we may say, we're at Channel 5, let's go ahead. Where's the camera? Show. So just because someone makes an accusation against you doesn't mean that you're guilty. But remember this, that all they have to do is go straight down to the police, make a police report, go in front of a magistrate, and swear, and it can be a lie, you will be arrested, you're taken down, and you have to post bond. Then you're going to a court. That's when you need to hire a lawyer. You say, well, that's not fair. No, in America, it is fair. You hire the lawyer of your choice. If you can't afford one, they'll appoint you one. And then go in there and advance your cause and espouse to everyone your innocence.
All right, so Chuck, thank you so much for calling in this evening. A lot of folks on the line. We do appreciate your patience. We're going right back to them right now. Ross is on the line with us. Ross, we're glad that you called. Do you have a question or a comment?
Yes, I have a question about my driver's license.
Okay, hit it.
Back in November of 2010, I got my truck stuck in a ditch on my way home. Two Houston County
sheriffs pulled up on me and wanted to know if I'd been drinking, first thing out of their mouths. I told them, yes, I had 3 beers in the last 3.5 hours.
Okay, and I'm going to stop you right there and let you finish your question. But remember, loose lips sink ships. And your very words, they say 90% of the people in the prison today are there because they talked. And you take your own words. You remember those Miranda rights? That's for a reason. Anything you say will be, can be, will be used against you. Go ahead with your question.
Well, my Miranda rights were never read to me over this.
Okay, so hit the question.
And I wasn't going to lie to the officer anyways. I wasn't drunk. It had been 3.5 hours. Over a 3.5 hour period, I had drank 3 beers. And what happened was I was backing up the road because I'd missed my turnoff, and I was out in the country. It was dark, and I couldn't see, and I backed off in the ditch.
So did they charge you with DUI?
Yes, they did. The officer
Okay, and
wanted me to
remember,
do
the point I want to make again is
the walk.
yeah, you didn't have to make those statements. They took your statements and used them against you. And then the next step, they'll say, will you get out and do these field sobriety tests? You don't have to do those field sobriety tests.
You do not have to.
No, and again, if the police came up on us right now and said, hey, we want to talk to you, there's no obligation that you and I have to talk to the police. And you could say, well, Kevin, you're the lawyer. And I'd say, gentlemen, can we talk with you tomorrow? Well, we want to talk to you now. Well, I say, well, yeah, a lot of people want a lot of things, but you don't have to. That's why we have the Constitution. You have an absolute constitutional right not to self-incriminate yourself. So, again, that's why we have those Miranda rights. That's why you're listening to this broadcast tonight. Learn, teach your children, teach your grandchildren, teach your co-workers. And because the lawyer certainly spent all these years learning that, he's not going to sit down and tell everything. Because the next day, if you were there, then the lawyer would go and talk and say, what do y'all want with Chuck? Okay.
All right. Ross, if you have one follow-up question, go ahead. We are running short on time, though.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyways, I tried to tell the officer that I have 2 very bad knees and I cannot walk very well. And at that point, he spun me around, almost knocked me off my feet, handcuffed me, and took me to jail.
Yes. And how I would have handled that if they had charged you and they said, you know, your field sobriety test is way off. Remember this? They have microphones that are self-activating. They have video cameras in the front of the car, and they come back and they say, let's do these field sobriety tests. They're taping you, and everything you say will be used. And so, again, I would have had you made any statement. And then I'd have went to the district attorney and said, well, he said, I've got him here, Kevin. We got him his field sobriety test. He can't walk. And I'd say, yes, there's a reasonable explanation, Mr. DA. The gentleman has these issues with his health, and your officer didn't do this. And so and then all of a sudden, we negotiated out, and you walked out of there, and you weren't convicted of DUI that has long-range effects. So your questions were excellent, and I'm glad, and I know it's benefited some people. So you can think through that. Get the lawyer. You don't have to let your lawyer explain.
Okay, all good things to know. Great things to know. All right, thank you so much, Ross, for calling in right now. Leonard is on the line with us. Leonard, do you have a question or a comment for Kevin?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, it's a child support matter.
Okay.
Actually, it's going on about probably 4. My ex-wife hasn't paid. I'm a single dad with 2 daughters. One turned 18 about 3 years ago and moved out of state. I'm a single dad with an 11-year-old daughter. My ex-wife is filed for disability, and actually I have a disability I'm waiting for. I have stenosis and sciatica from laying blocks for 30 years. But we can't get a dime out of her. Her and her family hired a lawyer. And my main question is, I have the district attorney helping me, and I don't know if I need a lawyer. I cannot afford one, but it's going to court the middle of March, and they want this lawyer is supposed to help get money owed dropped because she's supposed to be disabled. It's went on for years, and her lawyer had dropped her, but she's seen it wasn't going anywhere for a disability case. And our lawyer out here in Tennessee, our judge, has gave her a continuous, waiting for update on disability. Now, this tag is up to probably $25,000. Her and her family send the kids like this year for Christmas The 11-year-old kid got $150 in cash.
All right, let me just stop and address that. Remember, gifts are not child support, so you can give. A car, it's not child support. That is a gift. Likewise, the reason we pay the district attorneys state dollars, pay them, and they're representing you. You see, it's a problem against the state when someone owes child support and will not pay for that child support. And then the government has to step in and they'll help provide food for the children. But no, when you have the DA, I'd talk to him. If you didn't really feel comfortable with the district attorney, believe me, if it's a $25,000 arrearage, then you might consider hiring a lawyer. If you say, I have no resource, then you've got the district attorney going to represent you. Good side. They've got a side, get a lawyer. They'll ask for a contingency because that is in their best interest. You are trying to push to court because that's in your best interest.
Okay, very good to know. Leonard, thank you so much for your call. We do need to take a short break. Hang on the line with us. We're going to get to as many calls as we can on Open Line right after this.